Okay, so today I'm going to explain which is the best mobile wallet credit card, the US Bank Altitude Reserve or the Kroger Rewards Mastercard. Credit cards typically have elevated multipliers in everyday spending categories such as restaurants, groceries, gas, and travel. But one of the best non-traditional categories is the mobile wallet category because it covers a lot of typical credit card categories and more. So in this video, I'll compare both of these cards and explain why I prefer the US Bank Altitude Reserve card, even though the Kroger Rewards Mastercard can earn a whopping 5% cash back on mobile wallet purchases. And the best way to start this conversation is to identify how each card is structured. For the US Bank Altitude Reserve card, mobile wallets are defined as spending on Apple Pay, Google Wallet, and Samsung Pay. And for the Kroger Rewards Mastercard, these three payment methods are also included, but Garmin Pay is another option as well. Not a big deal since most of us either use Apple Pay or Google Wallet, but still worth mentioning. Of course, mobile wallets can be used anywhere Tap to Pay is accepted, and given all these new payment terminals in a variety of stores, it's easier than ever to pay using a mobile wallet and start earning a great multiplier on your everyday spending right away. And what's nice is that you don't even need to carry the physical card to access this category. Actually, it's probably better to just leave the physical card at home so you don't mistakenly use it and earn in the 1% or 1x catch-all category instead. So before we get to comparing these two cards, let's briefly go over each one so we know what we're working with. The US Bank Altitude Reserve card has a $400 annual fee and has a welcome offer of earning 50,000 bonus points after spending $4,500 in purchases in the first 90 days after account opening. Other than the 3x mobile wallet category, it also earns 5x points back on prepaid hotels and car rentals booked directly in the Altitude Rewards Center, and 1x points back on all other purchases. The card does come with one annual statement credit, which is a $325 travel and dining credit, which is one of the easiest statement credits to use because 1, it's annual, and 2, I'm pretty sure all of us can spend $325 in travel and dining in a single year. So this drops the annual fee of the US Bank Altitude Reserve card down to a true effective annual fee of just $75. Of course, there are other great benefits on this card as well, including no foreign transaction fees, primary auto rental collision damage waiver, and of course, airport lounge access. Specifically, you get 8 free Priority Pass visits, not only for airport lounges, but also to Priority Pass restaurants as well, making this a great card to use if you're an occasional traveler, but still want at least some airport lounge access. The last and arguably the most important benefit on this card is its real-time rewards redemption option. Now, just like most credit cards, there are multiple ways to redeem your points, like direct deposit, statement credits, gift cards, and through the US Bank travel portal. But with real-time rewards, you're able to redeem your points for air travel, hotels, rental cars, and even some select transit purchases at a 1.5x redemption rate. And to do this, it's important to only select these categories here so that real-time rewards will only trigger when you spend in one of these 4 categories of airline, car rental, lodging, and other travel. And when you make a purchase, you'll receive a text message from US Bank asking if you'd like to redeem your points. And once you confirm, the points are automatically deducted from your account, getting you that juicy 4.5x total multiplier on your mobile wallet spending. And so to recap, the US Bank Altitude Reserve card earns an effective 4.5x multiplier on mobile wallet purchases when using real-time rewards with no spending limit for an effective annual fee of $75. So next up we have the Kroger Rewards Mastercard, and before we even start, I just want to bring up that this is a US Bank partner credit card and it's not alone. In fact, if you look on this screen here, you can see that there are multiple versions of this card depending on the brand. Not only is there the Kroger Mastercard, there are 10 other cards that have the same multiplier structure, but are co-branded under different brands like I mentioned before. But for this video, I'll just be focusing on the Kroger Rewards Mastercard as this is the one that is the most well-known out of the bunch, but the other ones would work as well. So if we look at this card, the Kroger Rewards World Elite Mastercard has no annual fee, no foreign transaction fees, and a welcome offer of earning 55 cents per gallon of fuel each time you redeem at least 100 fuel points at Kroger fuel centers for the first year. And this is not a bad offer depending on how much gas you purchase in a single year. But I was looking through the terms and conditions, and it seems like you don't get any credit card rewards for fuel transactions other than the fuel points, so just keep that in mind. You also get a promotional $59 to put towards a Kroger Boost membership that offers free grocery delivery, as well as other perks and benefits within the Kroger brand. So all in all, it's a non-standard welcome offer, but it's still not a bad one if you shop for groceries and get gas within the Kroger family of stores. Now when it comes to the multipliers, it's to earn 5% cash back on Kroger Pay transactions on the first $3,000 on purchases each calendar year, then 2% cash back after that, and 1% cash back on all other purchases outside of the Kroger family of stores, as well as the most important multiplier of all, which is the 5% cash back on mobile wallets on up to $3,000 each calendar year, then 1% cash back after that. And so to recap this card, this is a no annual fee credit card that offers a 5% cashback multiplier on up to $3,000 in mobile wallet spending. So now that we know all about these two cards, how do they stack up head to head? Now, of course, if you value any of the benefits on the US Bank Altitude Reserve card, such as the 8 Priority Pass lounge passes and primary auto rental collision damage waiver, then the US Bank Altitude Reserve is going to come out ahead, even with its $75 effective annual fee. But if we put all that aside for a moment, the big question really comes down to which of these cards is a better mobile wallet card, the Altitude Reserve or the Kroger Mastercard. Well, with the US Bank Altitude Reserve, this card earns 4.5x points back on mobile wallet purchases, assuming all those points are redeemed for travel using the 1.5x real-time rewards boost. And on the other hand, the Kroger Mastercard earns 5% cash back on up to $3,000 in purchases each calendar year, then 1% cash back thereafter. And since US Bank doesn't have any transfer partners, the 4.5x multiplier is effectively a cashback redemption option at 1 cent per point, so an equivalent of 4.5% cashback. And so at first glance, 5% is clearly better than 4%. So the Kroger Rewards Mastercard is a better card, right? Well, yes and no. As long as you stay within the boundaries of the spending limit, which is $3,000 per year or about $250 per month, the 5% card will get you more cash back. But $250 per month for mobile wallet purchases may not be enough for a lot of people because they spend more than this in that category, which can include, but is not limited to, groceries, restaurants, gas, and retail shopping. And yes, you could get multiple partner cards, increasing your limit to $6,000 total with 2 cards, $9,000 with 3 cards, and so on. But this means you'll need to keep track of multiple cards, which may or may not be something that you want to do. But before I discuss that further, let's start with comparing the US Bank Altitude Reserve card to a single Kroger Rewards Mastercard. So for this comparison, let's assume that with the Kroger Rewards Mastercard, we also have a no annual fee 2% catch-all credit card like the Fidelity Rewards Visa to cover any expenses after we exceed that $3,000 limit. And let's also assume that the effective annual fee on the US Bank Altitude Reserve is $75. And we won't consider the value of the other benefits that could potentially decrease that effective annual fee even further. Okay, so if we spend $3,000 on the US Bank Altitude Reserve, that would yield $135 in cash back with that 4.5x multiplier, and when we subtract the $75 effective annual fee, that would get us $60 in cash back. On the other hand, with the Kroger Mastercard, maxing out that $3,000 limit for the year would earn $150 in cash back for this 5% mobile wallet category. And so now it gets interesting. After that $3,000 limit is reached, the US Bank Altitude Reserve card will continue to earn 4.5x points back on each dollar spent in that mobile wallet category, but the Kroger Rewards Mastercard will drop down to 1%. But that's why we'll be using our Fidelity Rewards Visa to get that 2% cash back for this Kroger Mastercard setup, just to keep things fair, because if you're running a cashback setup, you're definitely going to have a no annual fee 2% credit card for all of those catch-all purchases. And so then the question becomes, how much 4.5x mobile wallet spending would it take for the Altitude Reserve to catch up to the cashback that you'd get from the 2% Fidelity Rewards Visa? And the answer to that is an additional $3,600 in spending. With this amount of spending, the US Bank Altitude Reserve card would earn an additional $162 of cash back, and adding that total to the $60 earned from the first $3,000, that would be $222 of cash back from a total of $6,600 in spending. And we can see that when using the Kroger Fidelity combination, you would earn $72 of cash back at a 2% cashback rate, and adding that to the $150 cash back we already have, that would also yield a total of $222. So when we look at these cards head to head, it would take at least $6,600 in mobile wallet spending per year on the US Bank Altitude Reserve to make the card worth it when compared to a single Kroger Rewards Mastercard paired with a 2% catch-all credit card like the Fidelity Rewards Visa. And so spending $6,600 in mobile wallet purchases in a year sounds like a lot. And at first glance, it makes the Kroger Mastercard look pretty appealing. But there are a couple of things to note about this calculation which makes this conclusion not as straightforward. The first is that we deducted the $75 effective annual fee from the total cashback value that we would get from the US Bank Altitude Reserve. And usually that'd be the way to go, but this card certainly does have a few benefits that can offset the remainder of this effective annual fee, including lounge access and primary auto collision damage waiver. Actually, the value of these benefits alone can very much exceed the effective annual fee depending on your use case. And if that effective $75 annual fee wasn't deducted from your cashback earnings, then the cashback break-even point between these two cards would actually end up being $3,600 in a single year, which is very achievable by most people. But then the next logical question would be, what if you had two of these 5% mobile wallet cards, and what would be the break-even point then? Well, again, if we have a cap of $6,000 total on the US Bank Altitude Reserve, that would be $270 in earnings with that 4.5x multiplier, and $300 with that 5% multiplier on two of these types of cards, each with a spending limit of $3,000 on each one. So starting from here, we'll do the same exercise as before and calculate the break-even point if you continue to spend on the US Bank Altitude Reserve at a 4.5x earnings rate, or the Fidelity Rewards Visa at a 2% cashback rate. And when you do the math, the break-even point will occur after an additional $4,200 in spend. That additional spend on the Altitude Reserve will earn $189 in cash back, with the same amount on the Fidelity Rewards Visa earning $84 in cash back. So added together, that would be a total of $270 minus the $75 effective annual fee on the Altitude Reserve card, which is $195 total. Then when we add that with the $189 in cash back, the total earnings would be $384. And on the Kroger Mastercard, the $300 initial cash back plus the $84 in cash back is a total of $384, which is the break-even point for the Altitude Reserve and two 5% mobile wallet cards at $10,200. And if we take out that effective annual fee of $75 from the US Bank Altitude Reserve, like we did before, the new break-even point would be $7,200. So I don't want to get too bogged down by the numbers, but you can see that if you're deciding between these two cards, it's going to depend on how you would view the effective annual fee on the Altitude Reserve card, and if you think, in your situation, it would be covered by the benefits or not. So now that we have a good understanding of where those break-even points are, which one of these cards is better to have? The US Bank Altitude Reserve or the Kroger Rewards Mastercard? Well, my personal preference is going to be the US Bank Altitude Reserve, and let me explain why. Even though we've spent a lot of time in this video going over the math, I don't think it's just about the numbers. If you've been watching my channel, you know that I'm a big fan of simplicity over complexity when it comes to credit cards and credit card setups. Now, if you happen to spend less than $6,600 per year on mobile wallet purchases, then I would say yes, the Kroger Mastercard would be a better choice over the US Bank Altitude Reserve. But if you anticipate spending any more than that, I'd recommend getting the Altitude Reserve because you won't have to worry about spending limits, and you'll come out ahead in the long run anyways if you spend more than that amount of money. Now, of course, you could just get two or more of these no annual fee 5% mobile wallet cards, but that would lead to more cards to keep track of, and for some of you, that's fine. But for someone like myself, I'd rather have one card that covers this category very well. And I know this is the right move for me because I reviewed my spending on this card for the past year so far, and as of the end of July, we've spent about $11,000 on mobile wallet purchases. So for us, this is much higher than the break-even point of $6,600 when having one 5% mobile wallet card, and even higher than the break-even point of $10,200 when having two of these cards. And we still have 5 months to go in the rest of the year. We also like the benefits on the US Bank Altitude Reserve, and with that effective $75 annual fee, this is a no-brainer card for our household, and the fact that it has no spending limit on that mobile wallet category makes this card one of my favorites of all time. And so that's my analysis on the two best credit cards for mobile wallet purchases. Again, if you don't spend too much on mobile wallet purchases, or you're okay with getting multiple versions of the Kroger Rewards Mastercard, it's definitely a great one to consider. But at that point, it may just be better to go for a 5% cashback on everything setup because the $3,000 annual spending cap is very limiting, and by using a card like the US Bank Altitude Reserve instead, it ends up being a much simpler solution. And if you're looking to get approved for the US Bank Altitude Reserve card and want to see how I was able to get it after I was initially denied, check out this video next.